surprise shone light from distant northern skies. At that point, I realized I don't know where it comes from, but I know it's okay. This is all an illusion, and I'm willing to play.
Welcome to the Quantum Guide Show. Interviews with awakened masters as they share their quantum work with you. The Quantum Guide Show is produced by Karen Holton, creator of the 9 Steps to Quantum Health Transformation, a free 9-step online course to give you the tips and resources you need to thrive. Karen lost and continues to keep off 178 pounds of surplus body weight as she made her dreams come true. Whether you are awakening to the ascension process or simply want a wiser, more efficient lifestyle, this program is for you. No strings attached. The Quantum Guide Show is brought to you in part by Zendome's Orgonite, Karen's unique brand of orgone generators, ethically sourced, handmade, and double charged for maximum effect. Find out how orgone generators work and what they can do for you. Don't be fooled by imitations. Check out Karen's current selection, only available from her website, KarenHoltonHealthCoach.com, and on Facebook, facebook.com/Quantum Health Transformation. Enjoy the show.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Quantum Guide Show. Today in episode 52, I'm very pleased to introduce a returning guest, Chris Mathieu, and also Cory Hughes. This is his first time on the show. And they are both the creators of the Forbidden Knowledge Network. And I want to welcome you both to the show. So good to have you here.
Hey, thank you so much for having me back, Karen.
Thank you.
So I thought we could start off with, maybe we could start with you, Chris, where you can talk a little bit about who are you, and what are you into, or what do you do, and tell us a bit about the Forbidden Knowledge Network, because I think it's really important for people to know it's not just a podcast now, it's a whole network.
All right. Well, yeah, thank you, Karen. Thanks for having me on. Always great to talk to you. I'm just a regular guy that for some reason people enjoyed the content I started putting out. A few years ago, I started a little YouTube channel where I was covering, fringe things, earth changes, stuff they don't cover in your mainstream type of media and news, and it got popular, took off, and I decided, man, I better talk to people smarter than myself that know more about this shit than me. So I started interviewing people that I respected, authors, researchers, things of that nature, and that took off. People really enjoyed it. I was made to get a podcast because everyone was telling me better get a fucking podcast. Excuse my language. The main one was Charlie Robinson got in touch with me, and he's like, we're going to get you set up with a podcast. He set me up with Cory here, who had his own little podcast network, little platform that he had with no, I don't think he had many conspiratorial shows under his belt, but he had a few crypto shows, and we kind of joined forces, and that's how the whole podcast thing started and took off. And we just started doing other little various projects like our Forbidden Knowledge News Con, and it all came together, and we decided to feature other podcasters and content creators that were trying to do the same things and had similar goals and ideals in mind, and we're putting out great content. So we started the Forbidden Knowledge Network, and here we are now, and the rest is history. Anything to add to that, Cory?
Not really. I think the most important thing is really to bring attention to the things that we're working on, because when you look at the variety of shows that we currently are overseeing, it covers a huge swath of independent media, really everything from news to aliens to you name it. I mean, so it really covers. And now we just launched a new crypto show, FKN Crypto, because there's a lot of interest in crypto and not a lot of people really understand what the hell's going on. I still to this day think there's like 1,000 people in the world who genuinely understand crypto and everyone else is playing catch up. And so I tried to come up with this new show to kind of explain things and differentiate, because a lot of people are investing in things that are just, they shouldn't be. So, but yeah, I think the future is extremely bright for what we've been working on. Our show Day Zero has been picking up pretty big time. We've just broke over 1,700 listens per episode, which is great, and still growing. But yeah, the future is bright.
Yeah,
wonderful.
So, very blessed. Never expected to be where we're at now. So it's very cool.
Yeah, well, I could say the same thing. Can you tell us a little bit more about a couple of your shows, like Understanding Propaganda and Day Zero, so that folks get an idea of what that's about, because they're both very, very different.
I'll let
Chris,
you
how
tackle
about you?
that. Well, I'll let Cory
okay.
handle Understanding Propaganda and Day Zero, and I'll add anything.
Yeah, so Understanding Propaganda, I you know, when I do a show, I feel like, because I feel compelled to do it because there's a need for it. And the bottom line is, the mainstream media is a propaganda outlet. That's all they are. The vast majority of things that we hear, even from people within the independent media space, can be a lot of times inadvertent propaganda. So propaganda seeps into everything. It's in their advertising, and it's in our movies and radio and TV and music, and it's unavoidable. And so I came up with Understanding Propaganda because in the course of my research into Kennedy and World War II, the one underlying theme of all of it was the propaganda. And I felt that people really needed to understand the difference between the news telling you what's going on and propaganda. So that's pretty much what that's about. Day Zero came about because we were doing these little forbidden knowledge news updates. And we had guests come on, and next thing you know, we were getting enough attention on them to warrant its own show. And that's kind of how Day Zero came about. It's kind of a panel discussion.
And that's with Charlie Robinson, or do you have different guests?
Well, the main hosts are Cory, myself, Charlie Robinson, and X Cube 420. We're like the four fucking horsemen of the apocalypse here. But we have plenty of other hosts that we all consider ourselves co-hosts. We're all equals when we're on Day Zero. So we have our colleagues, our friends. We have people who have maybe views that really don't align with ours. We like to get as many different opinions and views as possible on Day Zero, and we make it fun. There's a lot of comedy involved. We got to keep it light, and definitely don't let your kids listen to this one. That's for sure.
Well, yeah, but it's a great show. And like you said, I never know what you guys are going to come out with next. It's very interesting, and it's always evolving and changing. I really, really like that. And I think what's so important about the Understanding Propaganda is people can't see it. They don't know about it. And so it doesn't get addressed. But the funny thing about propaganda, as soon as we realize what it is, it loses its power. So the more people we educate about propaganda, the more we can see it, and then we can just go, oh, no, I don't want any part of that. We've been really brainwashed that that's an Eastern thing. That's what they do in China. That's what they do in Russia. But people are quite surprised to find out how thick and deep that rabbit hole goes domestically. And I'm speaking North America. I'm Canadian. You guys are American, obviously. So so that's great. I am so glad. And how many different shows are part of the network now?
I think like 8 shows. You got Forbidden Knowledge News, Beyond Classified, Understanding Propaganda, Day Zero. We've got your show, Karen, Quantum Guide show, Raised by Giants, and Laura Wells' show, Going Down the Rabbit Hole. And then we got one more coming out in a couple months called The Ancient Gift. But we got some amazing shows on there.
And also the Inception podcast with
Inception,
Gloria
yes.
Canning as well,
yes.
right?
Can't forget about that.
That's okay. If we miss anybody, our apologies, but it's just a
Yeah.
great network. There's something for everybody there. And I'm just really excited to be a part of it. And I thank both of you for making that possible. So let's see how far we can get with my next question without getting kicked off YouTube. And that is, what
We'll try to
the
use some
hell
silly
is
code words.
Yes. What the hell has gone on, especially in the last year? In 2020, I found myself and a lot of people were kind of in the shock and awe stage. By 2021, we were starting to realize what was going on. And I know the three of us probably have very different perspectives on that. But let's start with Cory. Cory, what's your perspective? What the hell is going on this planet?
Well, we have been on the receiving end of a multi-generational psychological warfare campaign that has been part of an attempt to take over the world. And it has seemingly been accelerated for some reason. If you want to co-opt a society, you can do it slowly and have everybody on board because nobody knows what's going on. Or if you move too quickly, like in the case of what's happening with COVID-19, then it becomes obvious there's some shenanigans afoot. When they push the propaganda and they change the narrative so quickly, it's obvious they have some reason for accelerating their plans. And thankfully, in accelerating their plans, they've made many people awake who were not awake before. The reality is COVID-19 is a sham. It's a very complicated sham, but it's a sham nonetheless. The virus itself has most certainly been manufactured. It most certainly did not come out of a Chinese lab. This thing was released simultaneously around the world. And in my opinion, it died off very quickly. It was gone by probably April or May of 2020. And since then, all they've been doing is rebranding the flu. So anyone who gets the sniffles has the flu. Anyone who dies of heart-related issues might possibly have had COVID-19. But this is the world's largest psychological operation that we've ever seen.
Mm-hmm. Chris, what's your take on it?
Well, my view has changed very much, very frequently, and it's probably going to change frequently throughout this as long as it's going on. But I've come to think that it's maybe a forced evolution of humanity on some level, because yes, it's everything Cory said, but it's much more. Because at this point, we can differentiate the people who are evolving to people who are devolving. We can see where these agendas are going very clearly, especially if you've been paying attention to it. And for me personally, it's been a great year. I mean, everything, that I've personally gone through because of this, even the worst struggles has made everything better in my life. And, a lot of the people that I'm surrounded with can agree with that. It just depends on how you're looking at everything. But I think collectively, this had to happen on some level because we, as a human race, we're trapped. We are basically enslaved. And the only route to freedom is some kind of mass disruption on a huge scale that's going to collapse the system we're in, that's keeping us in this slave system currently. And I think that's in the process of happening right now. I think the whole system is falling apart. It's crumbling before our eyes. It's a kind of beautiful thing. It's probably going to get scary for some folks, but if you can see past the big picture and see where it's going, like there's no way they can win. There's no way they can keep this going. It is not sustainable. It is crumbling beneath their feet. I say this all the time. They're in the corner and they're throwing bullshit at us like Q-tips and toilet paper trying to keep us back. But we're like, fuck you. We know what's going on and we're keeping coming. And we're just going to keep tearing down these old systems until there's nothing left. And I think that we're going to see some turmoil as this happens. But in the end, they don't have anything. There's no more fuel behind their fire. And this Omi Daddy Kron is their final attempt to to disrupt everything and keep us in fear and keep us in place, but we're breaking free. And those that are in fear and that are staying that way, they're going to, they're going to stay that way. They're going to stay in this system for as long as it's still together and it's still working. Those people are going to be in it. And once it crumbles, they'll probably crumble with it, unfortunately. But that's just the way I see things as of now. I think it's a great thing. I think great things are happening. I think 2022 is going to be a fucking fantastic year. And I think their plans are just going to crumble. They're trying to make it appear right now like it's the worst time ever, like it's fucking apocalypse out there. But, it's really not. It's all fake. It's all smoke and mirrors. And if you look past it, I think everything's going to be really good. So that's just my take on it right now.
Wonderful. Yeah, I know. I totally, my view is in flux all the time too. But I know one thing, a lot of people were not aware of how much oppression and bullshit has been going on throughout all of history. People don't know about the genocide of all kinds of different Aboriginal groups around the world, what's happened with with the peasants and the nobility and all of that stuff. And then there's the whole big problem right now with, I think what they're really trying to cover up is that whole pedophilia thing too. But it's a combination of things. I don't think it's any one single thing. It's a whole bunch of things. And it had to be exposed. The whole house of cards needed to come down. And we'll never go back to the way things were because it was a corrupt and dirty system. We need something new. I don't know exactly what that's going to look like. But the good news is this is opening people's minds, opening their hearts, opening their eyes, and it's kind of giving everyone an opportunity to level up if they choose to use it for that. I don't know. Would you agree with me, Cory?
Yes. However, it seems as though we're kind of coming to see who really has a grip on what's going on and who doesn't. And it appears as though we're at about a 50-50 split down the middle of the country. It's really kind of sad. I don't do tribalism. There's no group that I belong to. I'm not a Republican or a Democrat. And unfortunately, we've been too conditioned as a society to have to cling to one or the other. So when I see this kind of Republicans doing Democrat things and Democrats doing Republican things and both sides freaking out because they don't understand, to me, it makes perfect sense. That's all pro wrestling. It's all WWE, right? It's all, the outcomes are all pre-arranged. So, but yeah, people have a hard time coming to grips with the political shift that we're seeing. Because if you'll notice throughout history, every 50, 60 years, it seems like the political parties reverse, right? It was the Republicans who 100% voted for slavery and not one Democrat voted to end slavery, right? Back in 18, whatever year. And so that by the 1950s was basically completely switched again. And then you have the birth of the Southern Democrats who were all evangelical, right? You have that whole era. And now it seems like that kind of took off until the modern day, which we're kind of seeing a switch again to where the Democrats were always the good guys for a while. And now that's switching and the Republicans are seemingly becoming the good guys. And it's breaking a lot of people's brains. They're not understanding the shift. And I think that's a major, major problem.
Another reason why we're so fortunate to have the work that both of you do with the Forbidden Knowledge Network, because we're going to get all kinds of information that we don't have from other sources. And I know for a fact that I can depend on what I'm told on your programs, and it's really helped me a lot. I wanted to say another thing is it's interesting how current events are being mirrored through the entertainment industry. And I'm speaking specifically of a show I recently saw. I'm pretty sure you guys have seen it, called Don't Look Up. And I have an intuitive feeling that there is going to be a natural disaster, which is why they sped everything up. I don't know, you don't have to agree with me on that, but that's sort of my take on it. But I saw so many parallels. It exposed, how really important things are not being addressed seriously by the higher ups, by the upper echelons, by the media, and we know they're all in bed together. What I find kind of disturbing is it seems like the plan that was started a long time ago, I don't know how long ago, but there's been a plan in place for a long time. And it seems to me like the offspring of the original people that set this plan in motion have gone to hell in a handbasket. So it's kind of like their parents did all this, made sacrifices, and did all that to bring this current situation about. But it seems like their children, who are obviously grown up, and some of them are old people now, they're just running amok. They're just screwed up on adrenochrome and their party houses, which is that whole Epstein thing, and all of that. And it's like the whole thing is just coming apart at the hinges, which I'm really happy about. What's your take, Chris?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's the inbred, great grandkids of these original Illuminati. It's like the idiocracy Illuminati. It's just time to give up. I think that you're right. The generation that's trying to run the op-ed doesn't have it anymore. But I think that it's like it's already crumbling, and they are too retarded to keep it going. But we can see evidence of that in the person that they're trying to portray as the leader of our administration. The Weekend at Bernie's president that we had, the dead man in office. It's all smoke and mirrors. And if you want to see a perfect example of that, just turn on your television and take a look at that old fucker, with the strings they're trying to pull on that guy.
Yeah, he doesn't even know what day of the week it is. He doesn't even know what year we're in. Like, it's unbelievable that well, I don't mean to put all Americans down or any of them down, but it just seems like in the United States, nationalism is kind of like takes on kind of religious proportions. In Canada, it's a little bit different. It's really common to disrespect the leaders because they make so many obvious mistakes. But I think all of that's changing. And I also think that there's a spiritual purpose to what's going on, because there's so many people who were so closed-minded and so brainwashed that it took something like what's been going on the last couple of years to wake them up. And I don't think they would have woken up any other way. What's your take on that, Chris?
No, yeah, you're right. You're right about that too. I mean, this is definitely something on a spiritual level for those that choose to see it. If you're not spiritual, it won't be anything. It's just going to be what you see in front of you and what you can believe tangibly. But for many people like myself, I believe that there's many layers to what's going on, and one of those layers is just for lack of a better word, just a battle of good and evil, and you just have to make your choice. For me, even after all of this started, I didn't have any type of real kind of desire to explore my spirituality until I had, my first type of real profound experience with it. And after that, everything changed. And that's something that I think is inevitable for anyone that experiences something like I experienced. But it's something that is fear-based, what they're trying to do right now on a grand scale. And if you're in fear, you're not going to look at a lot of the aspects that you should be looking at that could better your perception when it comes to the spiritual nature of this stuff. So yeah, 100% I think it is. And for many that haven't realized it yet, I'm pretty sure that there could be things in the near future that will occur because, those at the top, whether you believe in it or not, they believe in this weird occult stuff. And at its very nature, it's spirituality at some level, whether it's, if it may be dark spirituality, but they 100% believe in it. And they 100% do things to manifest their beliefs into reality. So I think that if we don't have any type of equal type of spiritual armor or whatever to combat their weird fucking devil juju shit, then you might want to reconsider and maybe start looking at these things a different way.
It's like a counterbalance. Cory, what's your take on that?
Well, my studies have always been in government, CIA, espionage, that kind of stuff. Very grounded in, like non-spiritual stuff. When I stumbled, when I finally came across in my secular research, the bridge to this occult world, it fucking rocked me. Like I can't even begin to explain it, because you constantly hear about, the elites worship the devil and they eat babies, right? You hear stuff like that all the time. And I'm always like, is it true? Possibly, but I don't have any evidence. I don't have any connection to that. That's just kind of conspiracy talk, right? Well, when I discovered it firsthand, it made it absolutely clear to me that the spiritual or occult aspect has most certainly been part of their political ideologies and strategies, probably for goddamn centuries. That's there's no way to unsee it. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. And it's something that it kind of took me off track with my research, because I was enjoying my spies and my secularism in research. And that opened up a whole nother fucking door that's going to take me a goddamn lifetime really to sort through. And I wasn't even finished with my primary Kennedy research when I got to that. And so, it's for me, it's like, I dread it, because I can just see the next 20, 30 years of my life trying to figure all this stuff out. And now I have to incorporate other people's psychotic belief systems into, my research. It's crazy. You have to start thinking, when you start to think like these people and you kind of see the rituals that they're engaged in, having to incorporate that into a secular mindset is difficult, for sure.
Yeah, and I think it's also scary for some people because of something along the lines I said, that if you don't have anything in your belief system that is power enough to counter their belief system, I could see how it might be scary for some people going up against that, and they're like, these guys are sacrificing babies to Moloch. What do I got to go against this? Like a microphone. It can be a little daunting. So, for me, I see comfort in that there is a good side of this. There is a lighter spiritual side that doesn't like this devil dick sucking, and it won't allow these people to kind of their plans to come to fruition. And for me, having that belief kind of gives me this type of what I call like spiritual armor. That it's my belief that they're going to lose. It's their belief that they're going to win. Fuck their beliefs. I think I'm right. I know I'm right. So that's what's going to happen, right?
I also want to mention.
Let me just say real quickly. I think that when it comes to the average person on the street, even people who claim to be Christians who really aren't, you have a lot of that here in America. I think trying to explain to people who are really a secular people, who, even though they claim to be religious, most of them are not. When you try to explain to these type of people that the people who are running our government are genuinely connected to these sects and cults that are engaged in this kind of occult behavior, that's where the big breakdown happens, right? I mean, I can literally lay out specific real world examples and show with beyond all doubt the occult aspect of things, but you show that to a normal person, they just shut down and you're a conspiracy theorist. That is really hard to overcome. And half the time, I just want to fucking give up, really, because overcoming that gap is like, it's hard. It's the hardest thing in the world for me, at least.
It's
I
like just the
think
same thing
too.
as trying to explain some of the people that's going on with some of these experimental jabs,
Yeah, well, we're going to get more into that in a sec. I wanted to also say to the viewers, just to be clear, when I'm talking about spirituality, I'm talking about pure spirituality, not religion, because I think religion has been a tool of the system to mislead people. And again, it gets us back into tribalism and everything else. And everybody's fighting over whose religion is right and all that jazz, and they're all in bed together, religion with the governments, with the, industrial military complex, with the medical industry, which is absolutely an industry. And it's just getting bigger and uglier all the time. So it's definitely time for that to fall. So when I'm like, I don't want to put words in you guys' mouth, but in my perspective, when I talk spirituality, I'm talking spirituality. So whether that means that we're coming into Christ consciousness or Buddha consciousness, it's an internal personal experience. And I am so tired of people waiting for the great white fucking savior to come. And I'll give you an example. A lot of people who are devout religious people, they think that they don't have to do anything because Jesus is going to come save everybody. And then you have all these people who go, we don't have to do anything because the T-Man, he's coming back and he's going to save everybody. He's with the white hats. Woo-ha! And then we get told, other people, oh yeah, they're going to save us. They're going to save us. And I'm getting so tired of all these people that are doing nothing and staying asleep because they're waiting for the great white savior. What's you guys' feeling about that? How about you,
Karen,
Cory? You want to start?
I just have to say something first. You apparently haven't heard
Sure.
of the great spaghetti monster coming. He is the real savior that's going to save us all. The spaghetti monster. Okay,
Cool.
I just had to say that.
That's good. That's good.
No, but you go ahead, Cory. You were going to ask him about something?
I was just going to say that when it comes to like hope, like I'm a skeptic. Like I just don't buy it. Like I don't buy that there's anybody coming to save us. They do this political game back and forth, where they kind of make it seem like the other political party will come and save us, and that's not going to happen. People forget that Trump was behind the vaccine and all this shit that's behind the origin of all this COVID stuff. So, but I'm really kind of afraid because I think we have two choices. We can either submit to totalitarianism or we can have an outright revolution. And I don't see an in between, I just don't. So I fear both outcomes.
Yeah, I definitely think the narrative of someone coming to save us is ridiculous. They tried to do that with the whole Trump thing, and that we see where that went. But I don't, I kind of agree that there are two really big roads we could go down. But I think that if there were some way to get more people to just stop complying, to just stop listening, to just realize what's happening and don't abide by what they're trying to tell you, that it would just, keep falling apart and they wouldn't have anything to throw at us and it just wouldn't exist anymore. But I just think there's too many stupid people out there that are still going along with the narrative that are keeping this going. Unfortunately, I like to see the bright side of things, but there are way too many people that are still just brainwashed sheep going along with the narrative. And that's what's keeping this going. That's what's perpetuating this whole thing. So the main thing we can do is just wake the fuck up, in my opinion.
And it requires a lot of effort, like for instance, over the last year, it's given me an opportunity to find a way to still have loving relationships with people who you might consider being on the other side of the fence, or people that are very pro jab and things like that. But I love them and they're part of my life. And I've had to really work on myself to come to a place where I can still love those people. But I want to tell you one other thing that's pissing me off is there's been a great deal of information out there that the intergalactics are going to come and save us. Oh, you don't have to do anything. If you're worrying, it's for nothing. You don't have to worry. Sit back, have a cup of tea, and grab your popcorn and just watch the show. The intergalactics are coming to save you. Well, that's not the intel I get. So I agree. I think that we need to stand up and either to choose the side of personal sovereignty or choose the system. And it's kind of got to be one or the other. I think it's really, really coming down to that. So is there anything you want to add before we take a look at 2022?
Well, no, I mean, like I said, I think 2021 was a good year in a sense that we've established sides and we've established how broken their side is, and we've seen some weaknesses. And I think that now that we've established those weaknesses and where the direction that they're trying to go, it'll be easier for us to counter it in 2022.
Mm-hmm. What do you say, Cory?
Something strange is going on with moving into this new year, and I can't put my finger on it. But as of January 15th, so I don't know if I like to follow the cruise ship news, because the cruise ship news is the epitome of craziness in following the COVID rules. So I keep up with what's going on the cruise ships. And despite the fact that right now, every cruise ship that's launched out of the US has been turned around, rejected at ports and all this stuff because of high levels of COVID on board. Despite this, January 15th, the CDC is saying it is removing itself from the decision-making process of cruise ships, and they will only be there for advisory purposes. That makes no sense. They've been dictating to the cruise industry for 2 years what they can do, what they can't do. And now all of a sudden, at the peak of COVID outbreaks on cruise ships, they're saying, well, we're just going to take a backseat role. I'm seeing a lot of conflicting messaging from the media in regards to, oh my God, we had 1 million cases the other day of COVID. Bullshit. I don't believe it for a second, but they're pushing the fear while simultaneously pushing Omicron as the end of the pandemic. So they're ramping up the confusion techniques. The January 15th move with the cruise ship industry tells me something weird is happening, but I sense that we're going to move into and I don't know how long it's going to last, but I think we're going to move into this COVID is going away phase again, and they're going to then yank the rug out from under us at some point in the moderate future. So I don't know what kind of timeline they're working on, but I think we're going to move into this phase of, hey, everything's going back to normal. We're cool. But I predict during this time, even though there's low COVID reported and all this stuff, what we're going to see is we're going to see more cities implement the vaccine passport. We're going to see more stuff like that on the down low. And then all of a sudden, when they pull the restrictions back on, we are going to be in a situation where now we have 20 something states with vaccine passports, and it's going to seem like it came out of nowhere. That's kind of what I predict moving forward.
Yeah, I think that unfortunately we're going to see some side effects and deaths from the currently jabbed individuals and currently boosted individuals that I think it may start raising some more eyebrows and more red flags about what's happening. But I don't know. I have a feeling that this Omidadicron is one of their final pushes, and I don't see what they could possibly have after unless they're switching it up to some type of different narrative, some type of different pandemic, alien invasion, Cthulhu squids popping out of people's bellies. I don't know, something different that could get people back in that fear mode, because the fear mode, I don't think has enough fuel right now to keep going with the way it is. But I think that also with the amount of red flags that we're seeing with information they're putting out about cardiac symptoms in people, and to be on the lookout for this and that, and with children, and they're pushing for the jabs for children. And I think we're going to start seeing more of these people with cardiac symptoms and issues coming out. And it's going to be an interesting year to see how that all plays out, and with how many people actually got the jab and how many people are actually having these effects. And, you know, you have to consider how much was a placebo that they're, you know, putting into these things that could affect people. I don't know. But I think that that's going to be an interesting year when it comes to that stuff. Other than that, I don't know. I'm hopeful, though. I'm hopeful that people are going to continue on the trend of questioning and waking up. And I think it's going to be a better year than last year.
Yeah, I would agree with you. And the other thing, too, is it's coming out more and more that there is a mass psychosis. And so they've taken the different steps, kept us, you know, always changing the bar, moving the bar up and down, and conflicting information. All of that has caused this mass psychosis. But people are getting tired. They're tired of the same old, same old. So in order to maintain mass psychosis, they got to switch it up. So now it looks like they're kind of phasing out the sickness thing, and they're bringing in something else. We don't know what. There's rumors of nuclear war. There's rumors of an ET invasion. There's, you know, they're gonna, I think we're going to be seeing them switch it up and bring in new fears, you know, bigger, other kinds of things to sensationalize. And of course, they've got the technology to fake an alien invasion. Personally, I think if ET was going to do away with us, they would have done it a long time ago. Why now, you know? So I don't know. What's you guys' take on the whole mass psychosis thing? Cory, what do you see? Do you see that as being a real thing?
I absolutely do. One comparison I'll make is, what was it like in the year after 9/11? You know, everybody was on this terrorism tip. Everyone was like, oh my God, there's a guy at the airport and he's got a turban on. He's got to be a terrorist, right? So we went through this 20 years ago. But now, instead of people with turbans, it's the unvaccinated. And so you can't really tell who the unvaccinated are, right? And it's obvious this is a divide and conquer strategy they're using. So I think that's the biggest push for these vaccine passports, is really just to separate people, nothing more. I mean, just so the people who follow the rules can have somebody to demonize. And that's exactly what we're seeing. And as far as potential false flag operations coming, new terrorist stuff, nobody buys the terrorism shit anymore, right? I think everybody knows that terrorism is a tool of governments only. So yeah, I don't know what they're going to do. And if they try to go back to the terrorism thing, it's like trying to go back to communism. You know, I mean, we couldn't do it again at this point, right? We couldn't go back to the 1950s McCarthyism ever again. So I think they're confused, and I don't think they really have any idea. So from what I can tell, how this goes is the orders come down from the Jewish bankers at the top. It trickles down through various organizations, ends up at the intelligence community, who then is responsible for the planning. And so I think this is a lot of confusion up at the top as to how to proceed, because I don't think they anticipated their story falling apart with COVID so quickly. Mm-hmm. And it has. I mean, honestly, I was calling bullshit on COVID on day one, because I was seeing propaganda techniques I saw surrounding World War II. So yeah, I just don't think people are buying for any of it anymore. And if they keep trying this different stuff, especially, you see, when it came to the 9/11, all it really restricted was like getting on an airplane, right? Nothing else. There wasn't really anything else different, but they found a way to prevent people from going into restaurants and all this other stuff. Yeah, so I think it's crumbling. It's going to continue to crumble. And I don't know if I foresee any immediate terrorist or any other kind of actions against. I think they're in the replanning stage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
mm-hmm. Chris,
I definitely see a form of mass psychosis. Of course, it's just like a spell you got to break out of and just wake up from. I remember whenever I remember back when 9/11 happened, I was super patriotic. I was like, man, we got to go get them terrorists. and I was ready, I was listening to like all these patriotic radio programs, and it was, man, I was brainwashed for a long time. So I get it, and it's something that you got to break free and realize. But the next step for them, who knows? It would be much more interesting if they did something like woo-woo, like an alien invasion or something. I was having fun when they were talking about the UFOs in the media, but I knew it was all fakery anyway. I mean, Cory, didn't you say you saw a video recently showing that the Tic Tac was a fake or something like that, or one of those, or the Nimitz video? I thought it was you that sent me that.
No, I don't think it was.
Okay, well, somebody was, but I figured it's, it's probably, our technology they're showing us on a lot of these UFO videos anyway. And I think the phenomenon is much different than we would ever think that it was. I think it's more of a kind of an interdimensional thing that we won't understand, but that's beyond the point. As far as the next big thing that could happen, you mentioned major cataclysm, that they could be, have an idea of the major cataclysm that's on the horizon. I think we're overdue for something. I think that for a long time we have been, for what I don't know. We've got a lot of things going on cosmically, especially with our solar minimum and everything that's happening around that. And the magnetic field is still moving. We're still like rapidly shifting towards Siberia. I think it's like almost 5 miles a month, and it keeps increasing. And once it hits like the 45-degree mark, I believe that's it. It's going to keep going, and then we're going to have a magnetic reversal, and then bye by all the amenities that you're used to in your luxurious life, like electricity and power and being able to, live a normal modern lifestyle. But I think that's coming. That's on the horizon, probably within maybe 5 years that could occur. And unless they have some kind of super secret technology to keep that from wiping out the global power grid and sending us back to the 1800s, I think that could be a problem. But that's not like anything that they would have to cause. That just happens. That's one of those natural type of cataclysms that happens that I think we're pretty much overdue for. A lot of the guests that I've had that look into that, really research this stuff, like Randall Carlson, believes we're overdue for something like that, and that it could be happening within our lifetime. And maybe that is why they're doing it. Maybe that is why they're like leading all these people on these weird tracks and rabbit holes, and trying to get people to not look up because something, is going to smash into the earth like a meteor, like Cory once is ready for. But who knows? I think that there's something else that would have to happen big time for people to get shifted back into that uber fear type of mode. But there's already too many people that have flipped and gone to the side of not compliance and our side and not believing in the bullshit. So I don't think they have a chance to do that unless they have something really big like that. Who knows?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very well said. Our time is quickly coming to an end on this show. There's so many things we could talk about. Maybe we could do another show together in the near future. But before we go, Cory, why don't we start with you? What are your final words? And also, what are you working on? And where can people find you?
Sure. So final words. I think that people have been too coddled for far too long in America. They don't understand the realities of what could happen. Look at what's going on in Kazakhstan right now. The government is pretty much fled. Right? The people stormed the Capitol. They burnt down the Parliament building, and they did this over a rise in gas prices. Okay. That's some real fortitude. Americans don't have that. We could have $10 gas and they're not going to riot in the streets. Americans have grown far too comfortable with systems of credit and having all kinds of stuff, very materialistic. And, many people are against materialism because of spiritual reasons. I'm against materialism because there's no point to it. I think that until people really start to suffer, and I think COVID is causing a lot of people in America to suffer and wake up as a result of it, until people are really willing to just, storm their own capital, until they're willing to actually, have a real revolution, then we're completely fucked. I mean, it's just, I don't see an alternative. I don't see us coming to grips. I don't see some administration coming to power who isn't controlled by them. You know, it's not I don't have any hope. So, you know, like I said in the beginning, I'm the doom and gloom guy. And, but right now I'm continuing to work on my Kennedy book. That is the longest, hardest process I've ever. I thought doing the research would be hard. Organizing it is the hardest thing ever. Besides that, just putting out more shows all the time for Forbidden Knowledge Network. And you can find my stuff at coryhughes.org. And as always, you can find all of our shows at forbiddenknowledge.news.
Wonderful.
Cool.
Chris, what have you got to say?
Final words. That box in your living room that politicians and the media show up on, smash that fucking thing. Don't watch it. Go outside, live your life. Don't pay attention to anything else anybody else is telling you, because that doesn't matter. What's in your world, what's in front of your eyes, what's in your reality, that's what matters. Take care of yourself. Take care of your family. And don't pay attention to any of the bullshit going on right now. Because it's, you know, you're not living anyone else's life. You're living your fucking life, and make it a good one. Because all the rest is fakery and bullshit. Anything they're trying to tell you on TV and news is never important. It's never real. And it's never going to put a smile on your face. So there's that. And what I got going is just shows all the time. Hopefully we may have another Forbidden Knowledge News Con coming up, maybe in March. I don't know. We're trying to plan. So we're going to hopefully get some speakers in line and get that rolling. It will most likely be online. So we'll keep everybody posted on the next Forbidden Knowledge News Con. And other than that, that's about it. So go to our website, forbiddenknowledge.news. Check out all the shows on the Forbidden Knowledge Network. Go to Rockfin. This is where you get our premium content. That's rokfin.com. We got a merch store. You can get some cool shirts, stickers, all kinds of stuff like that. And I think that's it. You can always find us on all podcast platforms and sometimes YouTube, but YouTube fucking sucks. So yeah, that's it.
Okay, well, I'm going to have the links in the description below. So I'm just recommending the viewers check you guys out. Check out some of the shows on the Forbidden Knowledge Network. And thank you both very much for sparing the time to spend with us this afternoon. And I wish you a very good week. And we'll see the viewers next week for another episode of the Quantum Guide Show. Bye-bye.
All right.
Thank you for joining us for the Quantum Guide Show. Become the change you wish to see in the world. Subscribe to Karen's YouTube channel, click the like button, and share this show with your friends. Check out Karen's website at KarenHoltonHealthCoach.com. All the links are available in the description box below. Until the next time, keep up the good work.
Endlessness puts all my inner strife to rest. For time gives birth to hurriedness. It all makes sense, well, more or less. And the sages put me to their test. With heart and soul to do my best to find the answers to my quest. I wonder and I must confess, I don't know where it comes from, but I know it's okay. If this is all an illusion, then I'm willing to play. okay.